Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plyben. There are signs that things are beginning to look a little bit more normal. Children are back in school. In fact, a lot of children across Guilford County schools are back in their classrooms thanks to a lot of work from all the employees, the staff, the teachers, and lots of volunteers as well. I had a chance to sit down with Superintendent Dr. Sharon Contreras to talk a little bit about the process of going back to school and what it means for our students. Welcome, Dr. Contreras. It is great to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me today.
Thanks so much. Explain to our viewers why it is so very important that students are back in school in person, face to face with teachers.
Well, I'd like to say first that I certainly respect the right of every parent to make the decision that they feel is best for their child. But we do have data that show that being in person is superior to remote education. And we shouldn't be surprised by that. It's really difficult to engage and build relationships online. But we have seen from national data and from our own data that students who are in school outperform those who are learning virtually. In fact, the first NWEA assessment we gave students after they've been in school for 5 weeks showed that the students who had been in school in person for those 5 weeks outperformed their peers in both reading and math.
That is amazing statistics. Just what a difference.
That's 5 weeks.
How are schools and school days different than they were a year ago? I mean, right at a year ago, really.
Yeah, it's very different. You know, our secondary schools are on Plan B, which is a hybrid model, which means they're in school on Monday and Tuesday and then learning remotely the rest of the week, or learning remotely Monday through Wednesday and in school on Thursday and Friday. And that's not because we don't want them in school, but on Plan B, students must be socially distanced 6 feet apart. And that means we can only get in about 50% of the students. And in some cases, we can't even get in 50%. So it's very different. In many of the secondary schools, students are in one classroom all day, similar to what they were in elementary school, and the teachers are coming to them. So it does feel different. But we're hopeful that by August, after we've had many more vaccinations and the hospitalization rates continue to decrease, that our students will be able to come back 5 days a week. Fortunately, for our students who are in self-contained special education classes, also known as exceptional children, and our elementary children, they're in school 5 days a week.
And so what has been the experience? What are you hearing from teachers and parents of those who are back to school in person?
Well, they are so grateful that their students are getting some of the social interactions that they miss so very much. I have a seventh grader, and I know he was so excited to go back and see his friends that he has not seen for an entire year. He went back to school after 11 and a half months. So I feel they're very excited. They do want the 5 days a week, but they're excited to finally be in at least 2 days a week.
And you can see them smiling, even with the mask on. You can tell.
I even tweeted out a photograph of my little boy smiling. And I said, boy, I haven't seen a smile this big in a long time. So very grateful to everyone who made this happen.
Well, and I feel it really is such a community effort that is possible. As you talked about, numbers coming down, vaccinations going up, mask wearing, everyone doing their part. Of course, returning students to school has been one of the most charged issues of this pandemic. So what about that attention has been good? And what do you think that maybe people are missing when they read about it and watch television and social media about it?
Great question. So I think what's good about it is America has always been respectful to teachers, but I think they have an entirely new respect for the work that educators, school nutrition workers, bus drivers, teachers, teacher assistants, principals do every single day. And to sit and to try to educate one child and then think about, wow, teachers do this all day long at the secondary level with 125 students, at the elementary level, 25 to 30 students. They do this all day long. And I think there's just a new respect and understanding that we ought to be paying teachers tens and tens of thousands of dollars a year for the extraordinary work that they do. I think what the public has had a very difficult time understanding, and I don't expect them to, is the logistics of trying to bring students back under these different models and with these regulations regarding the social distancing. And I think that, I get emails all the time. Some of them aren't very nice, saying you don't want kids in school. Nobody, trust me, nobody wants them back in school more than the superintendent and the school board. But I think to understand that it's difficult to offer all of the models that parents want, and they want very individualized models. You only have X amount of square footage, X number of teachers and staff, and you can't operate outside of that. And that is very challenging to explain to the public.
Particularly for the older grade levels, once they are changing classes and they have different interests and different levels and different encore classes.
Right. But it's difficult even at elementary. So when you hear parents say, well, I want remote at the school and not virtual academy. Well, to offer remote means I have to take a teacher from somewhere. Well, who's going to teach the students in person? So we can't always offer in person remote and then virtual school, and remote meaning at the child's school where they can just observe the classroom. It just isn't possible. And the technology challenges we face have been just extraordinary and massive.
And Guilford County Schools has done such an overwhelmingly great job of delivering that technology as far as the hardware and the internet access. It's been an ongoing challenge. Do you see that continuing into the summer and into next year?
Well, I think we've done a lot better. I think, unfortunately, school districts have had to own an infrastructure issue that is not ours. And many parents were upset with us. Why don't our children have technology? But they don't understand that this is tied to school funding. And the district is not self-funding. We're funded by the state and the county. And we only have as much as they give. And we certainly don't control the infrastructure, broadband connectivity, issues that have existed for many years, but were came to light with this pandemic of how damaging not attending to the infrastructure needs of the county and state have been. So I think I continue to explain that to parents and community members, that most of the money we receive, about 90%, goes to making sure your child has a teacher. There's very little left for anything else, without pushing on the state for a fair funding formula and the county to make sure the needs of the county are met.
What is the one thing you are most looking forward to seeing going back to normal?
Yeah, so normal is certainly overrated. Many students did not do well under the old model. What I'm most excited about is this pandemic has allowed us to innovate. And I'm hopeful that some of the very rigid regulations, state legislation that's in place, state statutes that regulate every aspect of schooling, that they'll continue to lift those as they did during the peak of the pandemic, so that we can continue to offer choice and options to parents. So I'm certainly excited about thinking about different ways to have school. Some students will come in just for their career technical education or their core classes and then go out on apprenticeships. And there's students who are interested in year-round models and extended day, extended year. There's just the many opportunities because we had to innovate instantly. And we saw, boy, we're much more creative than we ever thought. So that's an exciting piece that we look forward to.
I remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, hearing you say, school will never be the same again. It
Never.
will not go back to what we left mid-March 2020.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I hope it doesn't, because as I said, far too many students were lost, were not having a good experience with schools. I think now that we are have had the chance to experiment, and we see there's some things that work with students that haven't worked before. Well, certainly I look forward to students being back in school face to face. We miss them so very much. I do look forward to the new models that allow every single child to be successful.
What should we look forward to happening over the next few months and into the summer? What kinds of information should we be looking for from the school system?
So we intend to offer extended day, extended year models to families, hopefully some year-round models to help mitigate learning loss. And we expect to change some of the schedules at schools, so parents should be looking for that information. But there will be a very strong effort from the district to work with the community on the learning loss that students have experienced, such as our one-to-one tutoring program with our local colleges and universities and our advanced high school students. They'll see that there'll be opportunities for students to receive extra support and a very robust summer program. So stay tuned.
That's great to hear. How can we as a community better support the school system?
That's always an exceptional question, and I always appreciate it. I think, one, making sure that only good information is spread. The information most people receive on social media is not accurate if it's not coming from GCS. So my number one piece of advice and ask for support is please assist us with making sure that the community only has good information. And then secondly, we are building a world-class tutor corps, and I am hopeful that we can continue to recruit from this community tutors, and much of the tutoring will continue to happen remotely. So there's opportunity for lots of folks to get involved and work with children.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for spending some time with us today. And as the parent of 4 Guilford County Schools students, I just want to say thank you, you and the staff and the teachers and the principals. I've been overwhelmed by the communication and the caring that I have seen come for my family and to others. So we are grateful. We see you.
Thank you. Appreciate you so very much.
Guilford County Schools has a comprehensive website with all of the reopening plans and procedures so you can understand better what it looks like inside your child's classroom. Just go to gcsnc.com and look for reopening schools. When we come back, we are going to look at another sign of normalcy, or a little bit closer to normalcy. The ACC tournaments are back in Greensboro. We're going to talk about that right after this quick break. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. You probably remember last March in Greensboro, there was a lot going on. The women's ACC tournament had just wrapped. The men's ACC basketball tournament was happening at the Greensboro Coliseum when all of a sudden we found ourselves in a pandemic. The tournament ended. Everyone went home. We went into kind of a lockdown for lots of months, and life shifted to something we had never seen the likes of before. We're starting to see a small return to normalcy with the return of the women's and men's ACC tournament back to Greensboro. And this year, we even get to see some fans in the stand. I had a chance to talk recently with Matt Brown, Managing Director of the Greensboro Coliseum, about what this means for not only the Coliseum, but all of Greensboro.
We have sprayers, we'll have people wiping down so that everyone, whether it's a fan in the stands or whether it's an athlete, coach, they will feel comfortable in a facility that understands what is needed to make sure that everyone is comfortable.
The 2021 ACC women's and men's tournaments are back right where they should be at the Greensboro Coliseum. Matt Brown is managing director of the Coliseum. We are so glad to see you again.
Glad to see you and have you out here at an event at the Coliseum.
So what does it mean after a year to be having fans back into the Coliseum?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, to think of it's almost been a year is hard to imagine or understand, but our staff is delighted. The ACC's where it should be at the home of the Greensboro Coliseum, so we can't wait to get started. Women's coming back with another great tournament here, and then we can't wait to get the men in here as well.
The women's tournament has been at the Greensboro Coliseum longer than it's been anywhere else.
Yeah, it was a commitment on both of our parts. When John Swafford hired Bernadette McGlade, and we committed that we would make that into a national event that it is today. It's the premier women's basketball tournament in the country, and everyone models themselves after the women's ACC tournament at the Coliseum, and it's been spectacular. Now, we won't have those school kids screaming here for 2 consecutive days, but we'll have a great competition on the court.
Well, not this year, but hopefully soon to come that will be happening again. And of course, the men's is coming back this year, and that was a surprise because initially we had the tournament last year. It ended abruptly, and initially it was not going to be here. It was going to be in Washington, but then a change of heart by the ACC brought it back for a repeat of performance.
Yeah, I think we're very proud of the fact that it appears to have been a sense of comfort and confidence on the part of the ACC and their administration to look at where, as an alternative to traveling to Washington, D.C. under these difficult times, where could they pull it off? And I believe they had confidence in the Greensboro Coliseum and our staff to put together a real, true COVID protocol plan that we could actually deliver on. And then when the Corey Corporation stepped up and did their own COVID plan for both the Sheridan and Grandover properties, really gave the ACC schools and their medical committee a real sense of comfort. And this is a place that understands what needs to be done, and our athletes can feel comfortable coming here, and the coaches and all the management staff of each school and the ACC conference itself. So it was really a win-win-win, and what better place to have this come together than with the ACC in Greensboro.
And we learned that now some fans will be able to attend the tournament, and I know that's exciting for you as well.
Yeah, you know, we get thrown a lot of curves because there's not much notice. We were very appreciative and excited about Governor Cooper's adjustment in his plan that allowed for what is 15% of the capacity of our facility, really calculates on to just a little less than 3,000 fans, and the ACC will determine the final number of fans who can come into the game, and they're doing that as we speak right now, trying to calculate what works best for each one of their school members and then what works for all their other sponsors and the other fans that will be able to be accommodated.
And it just changes the feel when you have fans, and you can hear the genuine joy from them, even when you're watching on television.
Yeah, I think your point is well. I think that the fact that even on TV you get a sense of really wanting to be engaged in it when you hear the excitement of real, true, loud applause and fans really getting engaged into the competition, because it's the best competition in America, and the fact that you can have fans live to enjoy that. I think it's important for the student athletes to feel the environment where you've got fans here live. It's not a studio, and really that creates the atmosphere that they should have.
And we see people working here. Really, it's a busy atmosphere getting ready for the fans and the players to come. That is really big to see as well.
Well, that was a short notice effect, and so we're fortunate that we can reach out to many of our employees who want to come back to work, to temp labor that's available to us, and the great cleaning company Hopkins that we work with. They have started to clean from the last row in the facility, in case that's used, all the way down to the first row, and they'll clean even not just overnight, but they will come in and they'll help us clean so that within each session every fan will know they're coming into a COVID clean facility and feel comfortable in that environment.
And it looks clean just being in here. It sparkles from the top to the bottom.
Well, thank you for saying that. We take great pride in that. Our full staff does that and really takes pride in the facility. And we want people to feel comfortable coming into this environment in any circumstance, but certainly in this one where there's this cloud of COVID hanging over all of us, and they can feel comfortable coming into the Coliseum knowing that this has been cleaned and in anticipation of their visit here.
This feels awfully appropriate that the ACC tournaments are the kind of the catalyst for re-beginning life a little bit here in Greensboro, and especially at the Greensboro Coliseum. What do you see happening over the next few months, really into the next year, into 2022?
Well, we see the growth coming back, and we'll see some activity at the Special Events Center. We're going to start bringing back some of our very popular consumer shows because they can work under the new protocol easier than we could in the prior settings that just didn't work. But now you see Gem and Jewelry Show coming back in. You see the Wedding Show. You'll see the Card Show coming back in. And then we'll start to see, as potentially the next couple phases allow for loosening up even further restrictions on the number of people that can come into our venues, that possibly we can start to see some shows coming back to the facility. Those who can work in a smaller capacity here, that's something we're already in discussion with several different potentials for that.
And then when you can operate safely at full capacity, I know you'll be ready to go both here and at the Tanger Center.
Yeah, our entire staff can't wait to get back to normal, and I think our population and all the patrons who have had such a great experience coming to the Coliseum in the past can't wait to come back and see a great show in this facility, and we will welcome them back with open arms when we're able to do that safely.
And personally for you, to see activity, to see people working, to see people coming back and enjoying this space again, what does that mean to you?
Well, we certainly don't like cancellations. What we like is multiple bookings, and that's what we're used to. And I think we live by activity in the venue generates adrenaline for our staff to keep going. It's the nature of our business, and either you like it, then you want to be here with more events. And that's what I think our staffs look forward to getting back to and hosting more events. And we'll be there soon. People can look forward to that.
We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to start to see lots more things coming back, hopefully very soon. If you want to keep up with everything going on at the Greensboro Coliseum, just go to greensborocoliseum.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you spending a little bit of your time with us. Please stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you real soon.